Okay, we're going to talk about a verification of property nightmare. Okay, and what's the verification of property? Well, when you're buying a home, usually 5 days before you close on that transaction, you go to the property and kind of walk through and go, okay, everything's here. If you ask for repairs, you go through and verify that all those repairs were done. You got all the invoices for those, so you know that's happening. You know, if you got credits, you know you got credits. But just to walk through the house and to know that everything was kind of in the condition when you were there for your inspections, unless repairs were done, and then make sure those were done. I have a great kind of reference for you if you want to see a great movie. I think it's from the 80s. It's with Richard Pryor. It's called Moving. Watch that movie, and you will see a nightmare verification of property when he shows up at his house like the doors are gone or the pool's gone or hilarious. And just his whole move. It's just, I think Dana Carvey's in it driving like the car. And he's like a schizophrenic. It's fantastic. But back to this story. So I had a client buying a house, kind of a little like craftsman style home, older home built like the 20s, 1920s. And in the kitchen, all the kitchen knobs were these cool little artistic kind of had like paintings on them and stuff on them. They're really kind of cool. They're like almost all pretty unique. Some are similar, but some are very unique. And my clients really love those. And so we didn't think anything of it. There's nothing in the exclusions list, nothing that we thought, hey, well, you know, they actually excluded like a lamp, like a chandelier that was over one of the tables that they love. They're going to replace it with something similar. So that's something you want to know that's going to happen. But when we showed up for the verification of property, and these cabinets were all like these, I think they're like the French style, where they're all flush, right? And so without the handles, you can't really open them. And so we show up when we walk into the kitchen, all the handles are gone. And all the cabinets have like one little hole in them where they're supposed to, where the handles are supposed to be. All these little knobs and handles are gone. And so it's like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So I like, don't panic. Let me call the agent. So I call the agent and say, hey, heads up, we're here at the VP walking through, and your client took all those little decorative handles out of the kitchen. And there must have been like 30 of them. You know, it's like, oh, and I could just hear this an F-bomb drop on the other side of the phone, and I can't effing believe this. Let me call my client. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And it was one of those things, okay, well, let's find out. My clients aren't very happy about it. They're a little upset. So let's find out what's happening and kind of go with it for a second. Let's see what we can do. You know, let's work on this. And so we're waiting for the phone call, The guy calls back, and I go, I'm going to put you on speaker just so you kind of explain this to my clients. You know, he told me what was going on. So he goes, look, I apologize. My clients apologize. They should have said something to you, and they didn't. But all of those handles were actually hand painted by their children when they were younger. And their children are now in their like 30s and 40s, and this is an older couple. So their children are all now in their 30s and 40s. And so some of them even had like numbers on them. I guess that was from the age of the child at the time. And so it was very sentimental to them. So they took them. So we had to decide what we wanted to do, because it wasn't my buyer's rights if they wanted to they could take these people to court to get the handles back and go through all that hassle. But they kind of understood, because they had a young family and they understood how that was. And they thought, well, maybe that's something we can do. And so what the sellers offered them was to go to like Home Depot or Home and Decor or one of those places, pick out whatever handles they wanted, go ahead and just give them the number and everything of it. And they would have their handyman, the seller would have their handyman pick everything up, pay for it, install everything in the next couple of days. Everything would be fine. So we did that. We got through it, but it was just kind of a shock to walk in, and we couldn't even open the cabinets to look at them. So the verification of property was, you know, no exceptions other than the fact that, and then we had to write that out and what had to be done prior to the close of escrow. And it was done. So we went through the day before and everything got done. But it was one of those things where it could have turned into a really ugly thing if my buyers really wanted it to be, but they were understanding, which was great. They're very gracious and said, we get it. We have a young family. Maybe we'll do that with ours. And actually, this was years ago. I went to their house just not that long ago, and they've started painting some of those handles a little bit at a time. And they didn't take them all off the cabinets before they painted some of them, so there's some paint on the cabinets as well. So, but good stuff. So you never know with a VP when you're walking through that verification of property what you're going to get. You're hoping everything's going to be good, but just be prepared, for anything. And if it's on the listing side, I tell my sellers, nope, we're not doing anything that we didn't agree on or we didn't negotiate already. So something to think about as a buyer for sure, and as a seller. If you have any questions at all, reach out. Agent B, here to help when you're ready. I'll see you.